So, I took the C1 test without any preparation. No grammar drills, no textbooks, just raw dogging. I was so confident about nailing this that I even printed out the C2 test for the following week. That was cute. Because a few minutes into the test, a reality hit. In fact, Elise warned me about this last week, but did I listen? Absolutely not. Now, I invited a friend over for some help because I need someone to evaluate my work. Now, she already has an opinion about my French because we speak in French all the time. But now she has proof.
Donc je m'appelle Adeline, j'ai 32 ans et je suis journaliste depuis 6 ans, notamment en radio et en presse écrite. Donc j'ai fait un peu toutes sortes de sujets, que ce soit des micro-trottoirs ou des enquêtes. Et en parallèle, je fais du théâtre d'improvisation et de la comédie musicale.
Now, Adeline and I have been friends for exactly a year. And since her job requires this rigor, she would know what I need to improve. Before taking the test, we had a meal together and I asked her what I need to improve on when it came to my spoken French.
Bah, tu confonds tout le temps les féminins et masculins. Donc ça, c'est plutôt rigolo parce que vraiment, c'est systématique. T'as vachement bien adapté les spécificités, par exemple le verlan, donc inverser les mots. Ça, tu fais beaucoup, donc c'est rigolo. Après, tu peux peut-être, mais c'est pareil, c'est un peu dans la même veine que féminin-masculin, c'est plus les pronoms personnels, par exemple leur, lui, savoir comment l'utiliser, etc. Mais globalement, tu es très clair en français. On comprend ce que tu dis.
Now, Adeline doesn't know a thing about the C1. She's a French journalist. Her French is as good as it gets. So I handed her the guidelines to the audio transcripts because she will play the role of my examiner today. I do not test very well. I hate this. It's such a stressful time. I remember being a student and it was really not fun. Looking at this question paper, I'm not looking forward to it.
There are 4 parts to this. And each of these parts is going to be like a good hour and change, like 40-50 minutes, 2.5 hours and 30 minutes over here. But we have like 2 hours before I gotta go. So, est-ce qu'on va pouvoir le faire?
Yes! On va pouvoir le faire.
I was stressing out during the listening test, just like Elise warned me. Check out last week's video if you want to hear the whole thing. Now you start the listening test by reading all the questions first, and then they play a piece of audio. They give you some time, and they play the piece of audio again. And then some more time and the exam is done.
L'établissement public a protégé quoi, à peu près 10% du linéaire côtier du béton.
Oui, ça représente 800 km de rivage. Alors dans les années 70...
During the second piece of audio, Adeline was reading a comic book and just half listening to what and I was struggling to answer the questions during the second play. That's the amount of ease you need in order to raw dog this. My level of French is not there yet, so I'm gonna have to humbly prepare for the C1 if I want to succeed at this. Now I started with the listening test, and this one should be the easiest one, right? At least that's what I thought, because there's no scope for making any spelling mistakes, gender mistakes from le, la, from inanimate objects that you just should know. No, you can't do any of that. You just gotta listen and you've got to answer an MCQ. I followed the timings for each of the exercises religiously to make sure that it was like a strict mock test. But to my surprise, I couldn't even read half the questions in the allotted time. My reading is really slow. And suddenly, when the audio starts playing, you hit panic mode and you start stressing so much. Like back when I was a student, like in my teenage years, I thought that I left that behind me. But reliving that was so real when the audio just starts playing and you're like completely panicking. At about this point, I realized that the C2 is out of reach. I'll need to prepare for a couple of weeks to even face the C1 with dignity.
Je ne veux pas
Travailler, je ne veux pas déjeuner. On a déjà déjeuné. And then after all of this to and fro, Adeline gave me my results and they were disheartening.
3, 4, 5.
Yes! Je pensais 4 mois. Et le deuxième truc?
Donc là, sur le deuxième exercice, t'as 1, 2, 3, 4, plus t'avais 5 avant, donc ça te fait 9. Félicitations.
Sur 25?
Sur 25.
Je l'ai raté du coup.
Bah après, t'as pas fait l'oral.
Tu veux pas trancher, mais je peux le faire. Hein.
C'est pas une réussite.
Merci. Yikes. So much for taking the C2 next week.
T'es un peu plus gros ou grand?
Grand. Alors, Adeline, je suis un peu triste, déçu, dégoûté.
Et pourquoi à ton avis? Parce que t'étais pas concentré.
Ouais, oui.
Ah, on peut pas à la fois être youtubeur et passer un examen blanc. Et faire à manger aussi. Tu t'es un petit peu trop éparpillé peut-être.
Donne-moi 3 trucs à faire les semaines prochaines.
Prochaine,
pour que je puisse... Il y a un deuxième concours blanc que je peux passer.
Ah,
Mais,
et ben 3 trucs. Lire.
Qu'est-ce
Lis
que...
la presse. Lis des romans.
Quand tu dis presse,
Bah lis, je sais pas, Le Monde, Libération.
Le Parisien, tout ça.
Le Parisien, voilà, lis. Écoute la radio.
Ouais, j'écoutais Guillaume Meurice à la France Inter, mais après on lui a viré et du coup j'ai arrêté.
Bah écoute les infos le matin. Écoute la matinale, c'est important.
Les journaux, toi tu écoutes quoi?
Ben, je te dis, soit France Info, soit France Inter. Donc t'écoutes, je sais pas, le journal de 8h si t'es réveillé, enfin de 9h, celui que tu veux, hein, mais un de la matinale. Et puis, 3e conseil, concentre-toi. Fais un truc à la fois.
C'était un peu mérité. Turns out that French reading speed is a really important skill even in the listening exam, and this is really my worst. I don't do well reading. I don't even read any French. All I do is listen to music, watch movies, listen to podcasts, and more of the fun podcasts. Like, you know, if I have to break down after my conversation with Adeline where the hole in the racket is, it is that I watch stuff that I consider fun, stuff like Bref. This is my favorite TV show of all time in French. All of this other stuff that I watch, which is more informal, more everyday French, not so formal, this kind of stuff. And then when you listen to this more academic French, the one that I was listening to in the exam, this gives you all of these words that you don't know. In fact, they are mutually unintelligible. These two languages are not the same. The words that they use are not, the nouns are completely different. And somebody who's only listened to intellectual radio before, if you play to them this informal French TV show, they would have a ton of questions. And for me, it's the opposite problem. That's where I have a ton of questions. So my next steps are kind of clear. I need to spend more time reading French so that I increase my speed, and I need to invest in formal French, something that I struggle with. I wonder what Elise had on her cheat sheet before she went on her exam, but I think I'll discover this during my preparation phase. I don't even know how much time it's going to take for me to be ready to take the C1 mock test again. I'll probably have to call Adeline again for her help with evaluation. But it was disheartening to see how far I have to go to get this test over. L'abandon.
Mais ça veut pas dire que t'es nul.
Un tout petit peu quand même, hein. Un tout petit
Non,
peu quand même, hein.
T'étais pas concentré, c'est différent.
Putain, je suis dégoûté.
Faut que tu lises la presse française.
Que j'écoute un peu plus la radio.
Ouais, écoute France Info.
Qu'est-ce qu'il faut écouter, Adeline?
France Info.
C'est quoi France Info?
Bah, c'est Radio France. Et France Info, c'est plus, si tu veux, l'actu au jour le jour, un peu simple, c'est-à-dire l'actu un peu brute, mais facile d'accès. Après, si tu veux un peu plus d'analyse, de chronique, etc., je te conseille France Inter.
Ouais, j'adore France Inter.
Je conseillerais Radio France parce que
Radio
c'est le
France.
service public. J'ai travaillé pour le service public, donc voilà. Et lire.
Il faut lire aussi.
Il faut lire.
J'ai pas envie de lire.
Bah ouais, je sais, mais c'est important pour pas faire de fautes. Pour pas m'écrire sonner.
Oh là là.
EZ, au lieu d'écrire sonner ER.
From all of my experience watching French TV shows these last 8 years, I have this whole list of expressions and words that I just note down, these phrases, sentence constructions and so on, that I note down which sound very French. And that's where my natural sounding French comes from. That's where I can speak to people on the street and not feel intimidated, is because of this list and practicing with this list. There are about 900 entries on this list, and last week I spent some time to put together my first landing page when it comes to these entries. If you're struggling with this problem that I've just mastered, this everyday spoken French thing, that if you're struggling with this, I can help you out with that. If you went to joshuabalata.com/bref. This thing's gonna be free. I'm talking about each of these episodes. I'm gonna shoot some videos about that as well. Each of these episodes and what you can take away from these episodes and how you can use these phrases in your everyday life. That's something that I'm good at. And I now need to spend time in getting better at the formal stuff. That's been it for this video. I'm not in the best mood about this. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves and keep learning. C'est bon, c'est coupé.
C'est bon, je peux t'insulter maintenant?